Hey Beauty, today's episode is a little different. I'm sharing a conversation with Kimber Hardick that became so rich and layered, it naturally unfolded into two parts. In this first episode, we explore what it means to remember who you are and how to move through the emotions that surface when you begin returning to yourself. And in the next episode, Kimber and I take the conversation even deeper. I think midlife brings a kind of honesty that many of us didn't allow ourselves before. You begin to notice the ways you've been negotiating your truth, the ways you've been adjusting yourself to stay connected, to be understood, to make things work. And slowly something in you starts wanting a different kind of relationship with yourself, more truthful, more grounded. And that's what we're exploring in today's conversation. Welcome, beautiful soul. This is Midlife Butterfly, the space where you remember who you truly are beneath all the roles, responsibilities, and expectations. I'm your empowerment guide, Ken as you, and I hold this space for women in midlife who are ready to rediscover themselves, reclaim their joy, and live fully aligned. If you are new here, welcome to our cocoon. You've just entered a place where choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's sacred. So take a deep breath, drop in your heart, and let's dive in. And today we have the beautiful Kimber Hardick. She is the author of An Invitation to Shine, From Invisible to Invincible, and a voice for women in midlife who are ready to stop performing and start living more truthfully. Through personal story and grounded insight, she speaks to the messy, real process of reclaiming self, finding your voice, and stepping into a life that feels like your own. Welcome, Kimber. It is a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm just covered in goosebumps right now. Whew.
Yes, me too.
Wow. Wow. Your intro and your explanation of your cocoon. So, for years, when I was teaching yoga and mindfulness, I would always say, we're here to forget what we've learned so that we can remember what we've forgotten, to be at ease in our body.
Yes.
And that message it's still part of my work. It's in every chapter of my book because we're not broken.
Not at all.
We're remembering who we are beneath all the roles and the shoulds and the woulds and the expectations and beliefs that I often say we didn't sign up for. And
definitely not.
yeah, right. And so these constructs, there's nothing wrong with them. They kept us safe, but when they become kind of a problem for me is when they limit us, when
Yes.
there's an inner dialogue of, well, I know I should, but that's really not what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of re-looking at these beliefs and these constructs and has been really a big part of my work. So I think we're really aligned and I love that so much.
Yes, me too. Me too. Well, you just said what I wanted to start with about that fact that it's a remembrance. It's not reinvention. It's not, you know, it's it's really remembrance. As you said, it's because since we came here, we have been having all these programs, conditionings, and it's part of our human experience, right? Which is
Right.
wonderful. And the cool part is, I think, each of us, as unique as we are, we come to work in different things. Sometimes it's relationships, sometimes it's money, sometimes it's sex, different aspects of life itself. And coming back to that remembrance and coming back to our truth, as you said, not because of the shoulds and the haves, but the truth that each of us have that comes from within.
Right. And I think it's important to note that we can have this remembrance and then we can forget. And then we
Yes.
go, "Ah," and to have consideration for ourselves when we do that, not to
Oh,
beat
yes.
ourselves up
Mm-hmm.
and be curious. Wow, why did I do that? What came up for me? What needs to be looked at? I get to this state where I am just really remembering who I am and that I am the I, and then all of a sudden I slip into this, these old conditioned responses.
Mhm.
And I was out surfing the other day, and I'm trying to change the way I pop up because it is hurting me physically. But I've been popping up this way. And for you, those that don't surf, popping up is just going from laying down to standing up on the board.
Okay.
And I've been doing it this way for almost 2 years. So now I'm trying to change it. And so I was out there with, I call her my surf caddy. She carries my board. She pushes me in if I need to. She just helps me. And so I was working on my pop up. She was pushing me and I was doing great. So then she had me do the paddling. So I added the paddling and it was time to pop up. And I immediately went back to the old method that I was trying to not do anymore. And I got to thinking about how ingrained these responses are in our bodies. And our emotional responses are no different because they're stored in our bodies. So we can have this intention, we can have this desire to show up differently. But then we get in what I call the messy middle, and we kind of go on autopilot.
Yes.
And we go, oh, I did it again. There's this thing that I do and I did it again, instead of going, oh, I suck. I'm a terrible person. I whatever. Just like, yeah, I did it again. And it's just a practice to change how we show up. So the remembering is the first step.
Yes.
And the practice of, the remembering is what's next. And I think that's where the frustration comes in sometimes, because it's so easy to fall back into, because I know I've been doing certain things for 30, 40, 50, 60 years
Yes.
and just showing up differently. And so now when I notice myself shrinking, staying silent, walking away, I've always been really good about just, I'm done, walk away, and observe when those responses come online. And I pause, I just take a breath. And then I ask myself, what do I need to know, do, be, or understand in this moment?
Mm.
And then I watch. And sometimes I show up differently, and other times I don't, but I'm still learning because I'm observing myself. And I call this practice the wait, what, watch practice. And it has been, and I keep it in my back pocket all the time.
I love it because that practice is really that awareness, right? Would you like
Yeah.
to speak more about this specifically so people can
The
understand
awareness.
it? Yes.
Yeah,
Well, the
absolutely.
practice, yeah.
Yeah, I had a meditation teacher tell me one time, we were doing this meditation, and he said, now, if you catch your mind drifting, bring it back, but congratulate yourself for noticing that you strayed, because a lot of people never notice that. And so when we have the awareness, I mean, that's a step for change, right? That's how we begin to change, is to just notice and be aware of what it is we're doing. And a lot of people never get there. And so once you have that awareness and you go into a space where you're not judgmental of yourself, you just stay curious and have consideration. I don't say compassion, because to me, compassion is pity. So I say consideration. I have consideration for myself when I find myself in challenging situations, and I end up responding the way I didn't want to respond, but I have that awareness. And I was told one time when I was doing some shadow work that once you know, you can't unknow. And you don't know what you don't know that you don't know. And so once you know, and when I was doing the shadow work, I would catch myself, and I was working with my bravado. And I'd go, there's this thing that I do and I just did it. Let me reframe, or let me have a do-over. And so owning it, and being aware that you've done it, and then being accountable for it, and either learning from it or shifting directions, and not being harsh on yourself, because, it is a practice. And, I out there on the surfboard, I didn't get mad at myself when I would forget to pop up differently. I would just go, oh, there I go. I was so ingrained in step A, step B, step C that I forgot. And so I did it again with a little more awareness, a little more remembering, might have messed up again, but I just had fun with it, because I knew that I'm recreating something that's going to be more functional and serve me now. So,
Yes, I love it. And that's the thing that we tend to judge ourselves so quickly. Or, I mean, and unfortunately, that's our default mode
it is.
at all times. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is.
And something else I realized, another surfing story. I was going out surfing and I was so in my head and I was thinking about all these things and I was being really hard on myself because I wasn't having a good day on the board. And I kind of got snitty with somebody, my surf instructor. And I realized that when someone gets that way with me, I have no idea what's going on in their head. And it's probably 10 times more than what they're projecting on me. So that's has given me a little more consideration when people aren't as kind or considerate, to realize that if they're projecting that much on me, what is going on in their head? Right?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I also, when I got to that point to understand that, it because if not, we made all these stories, right? And it's just about, I don't know. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what happened in their story, in their lives to, in that case, to project all these things, or, when we feel that they are hurting us, but it's like, we really don't know what's going on behind them. We don't know their
Yeah.
story.
No, we have no idea. We have no idea. It's interesting because I shared a really beautiful story in this group that I'm in, and it's for estranged parents. And it's not a platform that I went looking for. And I'm kind of dipping my toe into supporting parents who are going through estrangement very cautiously, because I am estranged from one of my 4 children. But I shared this story today, and it was a sweet story of remembrance through my lens, not through the lenses of other people, around my grandmother, who I was estranged from because of family dynamics. And so this pink bathroom had really beautiful memories for me once I was able to, look at it differently. And I got some comments from people going, well, I don't know. That sounds pretty like there's more to the story. And, bathroom you go in to hide. And I thought, the way they're responding to this beautiful moment of remembering for me, it's triggering something in them. And they're looking at it through their perception, through their beliefs, instead of saying, I'm really curious, a bathroom, a pink commode, and automatically projecting. And having gone through estrangement with my grandmother and my mother for a time, and now my son, it's really brought to light for me how our perceptions of events that we can experience with, the same person, we all walk away with a completely different experience. And if we could just all be a little more curious instead of shutting off, cutting down, projecting, criticizing, blaming, I think we'd be a much happier place.
Definitely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hear you there. Yeah, it's just that opening of, as you said, it's curiosity, it's
Mm-hmm.
seeing with the different lenses, and it's a way of liberation, seeing it that way, because judgment, it takes too much energy.
It
We
does.
don't realize it, but in the body and then in the mind, when we start making all these stories, and it I don't know, I guess it keeps us stuck
Yeah.
when we are not open to that.
Well, in those stories, so I teach emotional awareness, and I've created, and I'll send you the link, this amazing interactive emotions wheel. And I do Zoom calls teaching people how to navigate their emotional landscaping. And I just lost my train of thought. It was so good. Anyway, let me just go back to judgment, because I don't remember why I was introducing that for a reason to what you said. But when we're judging, the story. So part of the teaching that I do is to look at the stories we create and around the emotion that we're feeling, and we're feeding the emotion instead of feeling the emotion. And so for me, when it happens, I'm looping. It's like, tell this, and then this happened, and then that happened, and then the loop gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and the emotion seems to get bigger because I'm feeding it instead of going, wow, this is what I'm feeling. And the other day I was doing some work with this emotion wheel, and I was getting really frustrated with the program that I'm working with. And so I went outside on the patio and I was working with the wheel. And what I realized was I was feeling angry. And anger is not an emotion that I've allowed myself really to feel, because I thought of it as a bad emotion. And as I'm working with emotions, they're not good or bad, they're messengers. And it's the behavior of anger that I associated as bad. So anger was not allowed in my. So when I noticed I was feeling angry, I was like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. Well, then it's like it opened up this door, and I was just feeling all of this anger. And I felt myself wanting to justify why I was angry. I was like, no, this is the work, Kimber. Feel the anger. It doesn't matter what the story is, just feel it. So I went surfing, and I just let the ocean just beat me up. And it felt really good and powerful. And anger makes you feel powerful when you're in it. Well, once I was able to let that anger energy move in my body, it uncovered some grief. So I came home and I was like, I told my surf instructor, I was like, God, I feel like I need to go home and have a really good cry. And so I'm driving home, and once again, I'm trying to create a story to justify why I'm feeling this grief. And I'm like, no, just feel it. Just feel it. And so I did. And I came home. And, when we're grieving something, the antidote for that is to make a connection. And so I sat with my husband, and because I needed to connect with him. And it was such a beautiful medicine. We had this great conversation. I felt the connection. I was able to feel the grief without it overwhelming me and getting wrapped up into a story. And so learning how to feel has been such a beautiful gift for me. I was on antidepressants for 15 years. And finally, I guess it's been 12 years ago, I got off of them. And I thought, oh, now I get to relearn. I get to learn how to, and I get to feel. And then I went, wait a minute. I don't know that I ever learned how to feel. And so these last 10, 12 years have been about learning how to feel. And the best way to do that is to be able to name them. And most of us are taught an emotional awareness at the level of maybe a fourth grader. I'm mad. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm happy. And this is what I started working with, was this emotions wheel. And I found that when I could really name what I was feeling beyond sadness or beyond anger and give it a name, it was so powerful. It was so powerful. So it'd be the difference in me saying, hey, you, and me saying, hey, Kenneth Sue, how are you? With the emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Thing is, we were not taught to feel, unfortunately. I think that happened more into men, but into women too, because as you said, you were not able to, you didn't want to express your anger because of the behavior, right? We're supposed to be the good girl. So how come are you going to behave in a way that is not acceptable between quotes? I mean, if we are not hurting anyone, we just need to allow ourselves to feel it.
Take a breath with me for a second. If you are done performing healing and ready to leave it, home is a monthly space to regulate your nervous system, breathe with intention, and integrate what you already know into your body. It's practical, it's devotional, it's real. More details are in the show notes.
Yeah. And, our emotions too are divided into emotions of dis-ease, or emotions of ease, and even going deeper than that, our emotions let us know when our needs are being met and when our needs are not being met. And if you look at it like that, you go, wow, I'm being angry. What is the need? And this is the work I'm doing right now, is trying to understand what is the need underneath the emotion. And when I can go, okay, I'm angry, what is the need? And for me at that moment, that need was for that program to work correctly and to not, keep messing up. So there's usually a need underneath. And so I feel like, if we can name the emotion and then go and look, what's the need? What is this emotion expressing? What need is it? And learning to feel what good emotions feel like.
That too.
I've had several experiences where I felt gratitude, and I felt it radiating through my whole body. And then I had another experience where I was in a really difficult situation, but I was able to tap into love and feel love. And so when we know what those other emotions feel like, we can tap into them a little bit easier.
Definitely. Yeah. And search for them sometimes.
Exactly.
Because sometimes, as you mentioned before, we get stuck in our heads on projecting how it's supposed to be and getting all this story. And then the emotion that we call negative emotion, between quotes, it keeps growing. Then it's like, okay, choose something else. We can also choose it. And if we...
And we can feel more than one emotion at the same time.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Some of them are louder and stronger, and there's more contrast between them, and we tend to focus on the bigger one. But if we can look at what else is true, and my wheel work, and I address that in my Zoom calls on what else could be true, and looking at the contrast, looking at the brightness, the light and the dark, and all the different. And I do it through the lens of an artist. As an artist, for me, that's why I was drawn to the wheel, because it looks like a color wheel.
Yes.
And so this whole format that I'm creating relates to surfing, and then the colors underneath, the canvas underneath is what I call it, and looking at our emotions through the eyes of an artist. And so it's turning into a brilliant, brilliant piece of work, and I can't wait to be able to share it in its entirety.
Oh, I love it. I look forward to that.
Yeah. Good.
Awesome. I would like to come back to the method that you talk about, wait, what, and watch.
Oh,
yes, because I would like to, if you can show us how to go through it. And I think.
So the wait, it's called the wait, what, watch. And so when I find myself reactive or about to react, or in a situation where my capacity feels kind of compressed, I wait. And in the waiting, there's a pause, a pull back, and a physical scan. So it could be a few deep breaths, closing my eyes, placing my hand on my heart, but just coming back to myself. And then the what is, I ask myself, what do I need to know? What do I need to do? What do I need to be? Or what do I need to understand in this moment? And then once I gather that information, I'm not in a story and meaning making about whatever's going on. I'm checking in with myself. And then I just watch. And I watch, do I still react? If I did I react as soon as I might have? Or did I hold off a little bit and then react? Or was I able to respond? At what point did I leave myself? Because when we get reactive, we're not staying true to ourselves. We're being protective, we're being defensive. And so I just watch. And then I can go, wow, okay, I did much better. I lasted 2 minutes instead of 30 seconds before I got reactive this time. Or I could go, wow, I really handled that with grace. Yay, me. And I celebrate. So yeah, it's called the wait, what, watch practice. And it's simple. You don't have to speak anything. It's just if you feel yourself getting reactive or in a difficult situation, just pause. Take a few breaths. Pull yourself back away from whatever the stimulus is and check in. What are you feeling in your body? Is there tightness in your jaw? Are your shoulders raised? Are you, what's your stance? Because our physical stance, that they say that you can calm anxiety by slow, deep breaths, but you can also create anxiety by rapid breathing. So we can use our breath to check in and calm ourselves if we're getting anxious or reactive. And then just say, gosh, what is it that I need to know, do, be, or understand? And that might be where I then ask questions instead of getting reactive, trying to figure out and just gather more information from whatever that reactive. And that for me, that's the hard part, is finding the questions and having the ability to ask. But also sometimes it doesn't even need to be asked. It's just checking in with yourself. What do I need to know? What do I need to be? If I don't know, what can I be right now? How can I show up? How can I be more authentic? How can I not leave myself? And then I just watch, and not always successful in the full carry out of the situation, but there's always a lesson to be learned. Mm-hmm. From every reaction, so that I can be better next time. Yes. I can be better. I mean, if we were going to be perfect at it from the beginning, we don't need to practice it, right? But none of us are perfect at how we react or respond to people. And so it's a new way of showing up in conversations, in relationships. And have you heard that song, Always 17 in Your Hometown?
I don't think so. No.
It's a country western song, and he talks about, he's always 17 in his hometown, and here he is like 50 years old. And so when we find ourselves going back with family, friends that knew us before, they meet us with the expectations of us being that person that we used to be.
Yes.
And in holidays, this is so prevalent during holidays. We show up to a family gathering and we're a different person, but yet these people see us and only know us as that other person, and they're going to do everything they can to make sure that you're still that same person, because that's who they're comfortable with, bullying or being around or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so it's very true. We're always 17 in our hometown, and that's where, for me anyways, that's where I know when I've done the work, that the work is working, because I'm showing up. You're going back to where I grew up in Tulsa. Yeah. It's a perfect example.
It made me laugh because I really feel you.
Yeah.
Like I am at my mom's place now, my brother, my sister are here at this moment. So it's really, that sometimes they expect you to be certain way. But the thing is, they have changed. I have changed. Everyone has changed, even though, of course, we stay with some things, right? But right. It's interesting then to observe in those cases when you think like, okay, like, or finding myself saying, oh, I went back to that pattern because I'm in this environment.
Exactly.
Right?
The environment. You can't control the external. So another surfing story. I went surfing the other day and we checked the conditions. my internal mindset, body set, everything. And it was a little precarious, but it was doable. So we went in and the conditions changed. The wind picked up, the current got worse, the waves got big. And we got out of the water. And I was driving back in my car and I was like, life is like that. I can walk into a family gathering with all the work that I've done, the right mindset, the right emotion set, all my tools, but I can't control the external environment.
No, we
I
can't.
can't control what someone might say or do. All I control is myself. And so I can leave the room. Like I left the ocean because it didn't feel safe to stay there.
Mm.
And so giving myself permission too that, if I'm in a situation and things get kind of uncomfortable or I need to pause, to just step out, and that's called honoring your capacity, not the capacity that you want to have,
Yeah.
but the capacity that you currently have. And it changes from day to day.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
how you call it, honoring your capacity. Because
Yeah.
sometimes, as you said, well, first of all, it's never the same percentage, right? And then
Right.
more as women and how our cycle works. And then it has to do, yeah, of course, with a lot of things that are happening outside, but also in the inside, and honoring that to say, yeah, today I'm not in for that kind of shit. Like
Right.
probably
Yeah.
another day, yes.
Yes, I don't
But
have the capacity for it.
yeah.
And it's interesting. This reminds me, I've been thinking about how I haven't had a moon cycle since I had my hysterectomy. And I was 30. I'm 64 now. And I've been on hormone replacement since I was 36. So my hormones have all kind of been level. But I've been noticing lately, I think there's still a cycle in my body. My body is still cycling, even though I don't
The
have
energy. Yeah.
I don't have the signs of my moon cycle and ovulation and all the things that the younger girls do. And it feels like an important piece for me to start paying attention to,
Mm-hmm.
because I know I can find myself in a low state of energy. My mindset might be a little low, and it's easy to beat myself up over it. But if I can go, wow, and it seems to be around the full moon. I haven't mapped it, but it really, for me, feels like it's cycling with the moon. That if I can go, wow, okay, it's just part of my cycle,
Yes.
then I can have more consideration for myself for those days that I just want to lay around all day and not do anything.
Yeah.
Or, I need to be by myself or whatever it is. And so I think as we are all entering into midlife, whether you're doing hormone replacement or not, it's still important to honor your cycle of rest and replenish, because if not, we overextend beyond our capacity, and then we get resentful, frustrated, and angry.
Yeah.
So that's something that, I don't know if women that you've been speaking to with moon cycles, if that's something that has come up when you no longer have the physical signs that this is your time to nest or, rest.
Well, I know, well, based on what a couple of mentors that I have had is like, if a woman is not bleeding anymore, is basically following the moon itself as how you are doing it. But I think at the same time, it's about observing if it's really with the moon, because sometimes, I mean, the body, it's different, right? Just having the signs and I think because even for women who don't have a womb, energetically, they're still, there's a womb in there.
Right. The womb energy is still there.
Yes,
Absolutely. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Coming back to honoring that cycle, I think it's so important. When I start doing it, this might be around 5 years already, it shifted my life, like literally, because taking the time when I'm bleeding and okay, I feel like pausing, like literally going inward and having that pause, it makes the difference that there's when I then ovulating because I have more energy, because I honor that, that time, when my body was saying, just go inward, just go, inside, and take that moment to really pause, to reflect, or even do nothing if I feel like doing nothing.
Right.
Because we're so accustomed of the doing all the time. But what about the being? It's just about taking a few times just to be a bit more. And then for when that phase of ovulation then I can have more energy. And that's something that I have realized.
Yeah. Well, I'm very fortunate. I have a lot of very young friends, and they're in my women's circle, and also we're just our friends. And I've been noticing how they honor their moon cycle, which is something for me growing up, I never did. I cursed it. It wasn't, I didn't see it as, a sign for me to pause and check in with myself. And so the other day we were going somewhere, and one of the girls said, I'm in my, what's she call it? Something, no, she doesn't call it her moon cycle, something phase. I don't know. She calls it something different. And she says, and I probably am just going to be laying down for most of the event. And I was like, wow, that is so cool. It's like her body, her moon cycle is the message to her that it's time to do whatever. I never looked at my cycle like that ever. It was like, oh God, here it is again, And so watching these young girls has really made me start thinking about paying attention, because they tell me, what they did, or how they had to slow down, or what came up for them. And I'm like, wow, I still do that, but I never thought about it as being part of my makeup. So I think it's important for us, as we're in menopause, pre-menopause, post-menopause, whatever, to continue or to start honoring the feminine cycles.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's very connected also, coming back to the emotions, right? Because if we are more aware of our bodies and what it's the senses and the emotions that are going through us, it's much easier than to put attention and then honor those, the phases that we are in. Because, for example, me, I know my moon is going to come when I start getting more like sentimental about things. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's coming. And it's okay. It's that, as you say, having that consideration and say, okay, it's going to come. So it's okay. I feel a little bit more sentimental, and
it's okay.
It's
so fun.
Yeah, it is valid. It is valid. Yeah. And then welcome all the emotions that come. And as you mentioned also before, there's sometimes a mix of emotions. We can have a lot of grief and at the same time excitement for something. And I can give you that example because I'm divorced. Like that happened to me. Like,
me too.
It's grief. There's a lot of sadness, but it's like it's excitement. Like what's coming, in my life now.
Yeah.
So
one of my mentors says that grief is the doorway to something new.
Yes, because it's a death.
Yeah. Since we've been talking so much about emotions, would you like to see this interactive wheel that I created?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. So let me not close, but make this smaller and go pull it up. It's really, really a cool thing. Let's see. Go to it.
You have to explain a bit more for the people who are only listening.
Yes, I will. Okay. And then we'll share the link so that they can, okay, let me go back here. I didn't realize we just had people listening, but I think they'll still. So to share the screen, do I go to more? And I think you might have to, oh, here we go, share. This.
Yes, you should be able to share. If not, then.
Share settings. Nope, that's not it. Oh.
You have to go share and then advanced sharing options.
Okay, share, go to share settings.
I think so.
Share screen. Okay. Enter full screen, choose individual. Okay, there it is. Yeah. Okay. Video sharing. Now, is it letting me share?
Not yet, but I don't see anything yet.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Share. Okay. Okay. So I have this landing page here because it changes. I'm still working on it and updating it. And so I just landed in there. Find the words for how you feel. And what's really cool is I have a children's wheel for ages 5 to 8, 9 to 12, and teens. And I did that because so many of the people I'm working with the feelings wheel are like, man, wouldn't this been great if we had learned this when we were kids? So
Definitely.
I created one. It's not as advanced as this one is. Is it still sharing?
Yes.
Okay. So it's called emotional surfing. And I have another practice. When we're doing emotional work, we tend to focus on the really big, hard, heavy, thick emotions. And so there's a practice called weef-wee. What's fun, what's functional, what's funky, and what's fugging with you. And so it just kind of gives you an idea of, well, okay, this thing over here is fugging with me, but this over here has been kind of fun. So to let you see that you've got more. So I'm going to take you into the full wheel. And these are called the core emotions, and these are universal. Everybody uses them, but they're not complete, right?
I'm just going to mention them, okay? So people who are listening, they know what it is. So it's anger, fear, sad, disgust, surprise, happy, calm, and trust.
Okay. So we can explore. Is there one that calls you, Tennessee, that you'd like to explore?
Trust.
Okay. So then we hit trust. And within trust, we have the secondary emotions, which are open, secure, connected, receptive, or loving. Which one do you want to explore?
Let's go with connected.
Okay. And so then in connected, we have warm or we have alive.
Alive.
Okay. So then it takes you down here and it says alive can feel like the whole system at full power, present, tingling, switched on, every sense working, every nerve firing, you unmistakably here. Alive can come through joy or fear or connection or risk. The source might matter less than the recognition. I'm here. I can feel this. If aliveness is rare for you, notice what it brought. And then it asks, what else could be true right now? You identified alive, that is real. And alongside it, you might also be vulnerable and choosing, brave enough to not armor up, tender in a way that costs something, or choosing openness over certainty. And so then, do any of those resonate with you or no?
I will go with brave enough to not armor up.
Okay.
Yeah.
If this were also true right now, what shifts? Does the original story loosen even slightly? Sit with both, probably the original story that might have in the past caused you to armor up. And then it asks you to notice where it lives in your body. And I list common places because I know there's some teachings out there that say, oh, if you're feeling this in your right hip, it means that. And if you feel this in your jaw, it means that. I think our emotions show up in different parts of our body.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Different for everybody.
Yeah.
And so notice where this lives in your body. Whole body humming, skin tingling, everything switched on. And I think we both really felt that at the beginning of the podcast. We felt really alive and connected, right?
Definitely.
And so notice what aliveness feels like in your body. Memorize it. So like you said earlier, we can call on it when it might serve us or when it's not present, but we know that it would benefit us. And then I have guided meditations included in here.
Yeah.
And then I usually quote something from my book. I could finally see how my patterns were formed and why they made sense. And then
Not that
you
good.
then you can go deeper into ease, which we're in an ease state. So we don't really need to go into ease. Different lenses, shifting the story, feeding versus feeling, and the seduction. And so what I'm finding is a lot of these emotions that we have, especially on the dis-ease or where our needs are not being met, there's a seduction to, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this.
Okay.
There's a seduction to, how do I do that? Oh, stop sharing.
Stop sharing. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a
And
seduction to feeling these emotions sometimes. Sometimes anger, the power we feel with anger is so seductive to us because going into grief makes us feel not in a way we want to feel. So, and then also sometimes hanging around in grief brings us connection, and we're grieving a connection, but we're getting attention, we're getting empathy, we're getting sympathy. So I like to look at the seduction of the emotions. What else could be true? And then also looking at the story that's keeping us stuck in some of these emotions instead of feeling them and moving out. And I think the first time that I was able to really just sit with an emotion for the first time, it was last year when I found out that my son got engaged, and I found out on Facebook. And the emotion was really, really big. The movement in my body, the energy was just, and I didn't want to go into a story around why he didn't tell me. Would he have told me if we weren't estranged? That's just what kids do nowadays. They just post things on social media. And so I was feeling all sorts of sadness. And so I went into my bedroom and I just laid in the bed and I felt the sadness. I felt all the feels, but I didn't go into a story. And all of it, and usually those emotions I would stuff or avoid because I didn't want them to consume me. But I realized it's not the emotion that's consuming me, it's my thoughts about the event. So I laid there and I just felt this sadness in my body and probably some tears, but not a, and all of a sudden I felt this and I heard it and it went in my chest. And it was like that I made space for that emotion to move around. And I got up and I wasn't consumed with it. I was doing a lot of puzzles when it first happened because I was just so consumed with the story and, how dare he and all the things. And so to just feel it, it didn't have its control over me. And I was able to go about my day and my life. And I think what I'm seeing in all realms of life is that we get so attached to the story and the emotion doesn't have anywhere to go because the story, it's like, I think I said this to someone the other day, our emotions are messengers, but when we are wrapped up in a story, we are dictating the message instead of receiving and listening to the message.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, we are dictating the message. And the more power we give it, the more bigger we do it. And and then we get stuck in there. That's the problem. And then more of these,
Over
between quotes,
over.
these negative emotions that we consider as anger and sadness, we literally dig our own hole.
Exactly.
Right?
I can remember, I used to say that I was praying all the time when I was doing this, but I really wasn't. And I definitely wasn't listening. I was telling. But I would get so involved in other people's stuff and in their stories. And I'd get so mad at that husband or mad at that kid that they did that to my friend. And I wasn't, but you know what? It gave me energy. It was serving me to do that. I just didn't know that at the time. But it was draining. It was so draining to stay stuck in the story and the blaming. And are you familiar with the drama triangle?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, being stuck in the victim or the helper, I was a great helper for a long time, and helping was more about me and less about you, unless I asked, how can I support you? Right. But I didn't see that. I mean, I was meddling and interfering and do all the things that we do when we're younger and we
Oh,
think we're
yes.
being helpful.
That's what's happening. It's like, oh, yeah, I want to save you. Come on,
Yeah,
let me do it.
here I am to save the day. But in doing that, I'm making you the victim.
Yes.
And who wants to be a victim, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's important also to say there's a difference between being victimized and living in the role as a victim.
Yes.
So you can be victimized and you can continue to tell your story as being the victim and being victimized, or you can go, yes, this happened to me, and this is what, maybe I contributed. I made the choice to be there or to show up, whatever. We all have a role, but it's so
Yes.
much easier to point at the villain. And when my husband was first introduced to the drama triangle, he was the villain, and he took great pride in being the villain until he realized that the villain is the biggest victim of all.
Yes.
Because that victim, in order to empower himself, then goes and tears other people down and becomes the villain himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I also have that's in the whole wheels teaching as well. So I love this emotion discussion. I love exploring my emotions, the aha moments that people have when they're on my calls talking about, emotions, and not even realizing that they're telling a story and that there's a difference between feeling a feeling and telling the story. The story then becomes, that's how I feel. And I think the English language doesn't help matters much, because we say, well, I feel this or I feel that, when it's really not a feeling. And so learning to discern, well, what is a feeling and what is a thought? And I remember when I was younger, someone telling me, if you can say I think before it, it's not a feeling. So like I can't say
That's
I
so
feel
true.
mad. I can say I feel mad, but I can't say I think mad. But if I say I feel, it's like I'm losing an example, but so if you can say, and a lot of people say, well, I feel you did this to me. Well, that's not a feeling. That's a thought, and that's a perception, and that's a projection. And so the English language doesn't also give us the greatest tools with which to navigate what we feel, because we think if we can say, well, I feel this way and I'm telling you how I feel, and so I'm being very emotional and emotionally intelligent, it's not a feeling, it's a thought. And so learning how to discern that, what is really a feeling versus what is a thought.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And then the other thing is that we have like a, how can I say, like an image of an idea of what, for example, how sadness supposed to be, because other
Mm-hmm.
people has shown us to us. But
Mm-hmm.
what is it really to me?
Mm-hmm.
And where am I, as we talked before, where am I really feeling it? What about if I'm feeling my sadness in my right hand, not in my chest as someone else, at least at this
Mm-hmm.
moment?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that comes back to that awareness of the body and say, okay, what's happening? And then coming, to the body itself and not allowing the mind to play us there.
Right.
To really notice what's happening.
When I first started an awareness practice, awareness was not anything in my language years ago. And it was introduced, I was told to try this when I am washing my hands, to don't do it mindlessly, but to really pay attention to the water as it moves over my hand, the sensations I feel as my hands are touching each other, as the soap bubbles up. You're just the little things. And so for people that are new to an awareness practice, do it in the shower. Do it when you wash your hands. When you're doing the dishes, do it with awareness, not just mindlessly. And it actually brings more enjoyment to cooking and cleaning when you're doing it with awareness. Even eating. So I'm not going to do it now, but if you take like a piece of pineapple or a chocolate and you just put it in your mouth and you don't chew it, you just pay attention to the sensations on your tongue, feel the chocolate melting, the taste, the saliva mixing with, those little things. That's where the awareness starts. And so if you think you're going to just go, okay, I'm going to be aware of how reactive I am and that's next step. Start being just aware of the physical sensations and things you do every single day, washing your hair, brushing your teeth, having a sip of cold water. For me, my showers are just like, you're talking about the simple things. And I was like, what am I going to tell her? What's a simple pleasure in my life? My showers. My showers are my simple pleasure. I get in there and half the time they're cold because I don't have hot water. And I could beat myself up and be all frustrated because I don't have hot water, but I don't. I go in and I feel the coldness and I feel the water. And so just being aware and slowing down enough to be aware, that would be my simple pleasure. I really was struggling with how am I going to answer that? Because I don't know what I do that's simple, that I enjoy. Everything I do seems to be grandiose, but I enjoy it. But that's what I enjoy, is the simple awareness practices. My husband cooks for me. And I mean, I enjoy every single bite that comes into, I do it slowly and mindfully and with great pleasure. And if you're not currently doing that, that's where you start an awareness practice.
Yeah. We miss life when we are not aware, because awareness brings us to the present moment.
It does. It does. You can't. And, if another practice, you say, it does bring you to the present moment. If you find you're looping in a story, if you bring your awareness into your body, the story stops.
Yes.
Because you can't be in the future or in the past when you're in the present.
Yes.
And physical sensations bring us into the present moment.
Mm-hmm. And when we don't know, I guess, when we are more unaware, or, when we are more in the autopilot, it's that we are missing life, because we are actually creating the life moment to moment. We are building it in this very present moment. And when we go into the autopilot, we miss that opportunity. And then we think that life is happening to us. No, it's happening for us. I mean, you are the creator. You are created in every moment. So it's like.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really hard concept for people to grasp, because it's a very powerful concept.
It is.
And when I first started really noticing how much power I had, it was a little overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
But, I can remember, and maybe you've done this, be driving down the highway and all of a sudden I'm at point Z and I don't remember going from point F to point Z. It's like I missed that whole ride. It's because I wasn't in the present moment. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going crazy. There's something wrong with me. And then I realized I'm just not paying attention. My mind is off here and I'm driving on autopilot.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden I see, wow, I just went 5 miles and I don't remember how I got here.
Yeah. And going back to what you just said, we don't realize how powerful we are, because the more aware we are, the more we get to choose properly what we want to experience at that moment.
Exactly.
We get to choose it every time. And if we don't like it, because life is going to happen, things are going to happen, emotions of any kind are going to come through. But then it's like, okay, so from this moment, like, how can I choose something different? And that's really where the power comes, because it's when we're really aware of our mind and we get to control our mind and not
Well, and it's also how we experience something is a choice. And
Yes.
so we can't control things that happen to us sometimes, but we can control how we experience it.
Yes.
And so I try really hard when things are not all love and light and happy and joy to say, what is the lesson here? This is happening for me. It's uncomfortable and I don't like it, but I can choose how I experience it. And that's where the real power is choosing how we experience things.
Yes.
This conversation with Kimberly isn't finished yet. We'll continue unfolding it in the next episode. Stay tuned. Thank you for tuning into Midlife Butterfly. I hope this episode empowered you in some way. Share the love by hitting follow wherever you're listening and leave a review if you feel inspired. I also love to connect with you. Come say hi on Instagram at Midlife Butterfly. I love to know you. Until next time, keep spreading those wings and live in joy, growth, and pleasure.